Welcome, friends, to another exciting episode of A VGM Journey. And I'm your host, The Messenger. The track that we're playing in this week's show is Round Game from the game Warios Woods, and that was composed by Soyo Oka and Shinobu Amayake. I've got a real fun episode for you guys, and we're actually going with a topic this week. And that topic is 1994. A little bit of a random year, but it's not as random as you think it is. So I thought it would be really cool to do a focus on that year on level 94, because that was the year that I was born. So 1994 holds a little bit of a special place in my heart. And there were a lot of really great games that came out that year. And this episode really just barely scratches the surface of the games that came out in that year. And we might as well get started with our next track, which is coming from Doom 2, Hell on Earth. The track is The Demon's Dead, and that was composed by Robert Prince. That track that you just heard, that was The Demon's Dead from the game Doom 2 Hell on Earth, and that was composed by Robert Prince. I've made it no secret that I really like the Doom games, and Doom 2 is no exception. I mean, yeah, it's just like the first game, and the soundtrack, I don't think it's as good as the original, but it introduces a lot of new enemies, a new weapon with the super shotgun, and a soundtrack that I still think is pretty strong. In the original game, you have some rocking tracks, and then you also have some really nice atmospheric pieces. And I feel like for Doom 2, the marriage between the two styles is shown off a little better in this game. And I feel like overall, I think the soundtrack with the composition, I think was taken a little more seriously compared to the original. Even though all you're doing is just running around shooting up demons. It's still a lot of fun though. And I'm thinking maybe we should take things in a little bit of a more spookier direction with this next track. And the track that I'm thinking of is Sabrewulf's theme from the game Killer Instinct. And that was composed by Robin Beanland and Graeme Norgate. That track that you just listened to, that was Sabrewulf's theme from the game Killer Instinct, and that was composed by Robin Beanland and Graeme Norgate. Killer Instinct was a really fun fighting game with a really cool roster, and one of the fighters was a werewolf named Sabrewulf. And I always thought his theme was really cool because it was both spooky and epic at the same time. And the drums sounds very similar to the Imperial March from Star Wars. So that's the first thing that kind of sticks out to me with this track. And to give a little fun fact about myself was way back in 2015, the podcast VGM Jukebox came out, and they were a video game music podcast that took requests from listeners, and they would play them on the show. And the Super Nintendo version of this track was the very first track that I've ever requested to be played on the show, and they played it. So I thought that was really cool, and I really miss those guys. And I think, speaking of special, this next track is a personal favorite of mine, and it's from a game that I really, really like. And that game is Super Metroid. And the track that I want to play is Brinstar Red Soil Swampy Area, and that was composed by Kenji Yamamoto and Minako Hamano. That track that you just heard, that was Brinstar, Red Soil, Swampy Area from the game Super Metroid, and that was composed by Kenji Yamamoto and Minako Hamano. Where do I even begin with Super Metroid? Definitely top 10 of all time for myself, and it's backed by a really strong soundtrack. And this track is probably one of my most favorite tracks ever. There's a real dark moodiness to it, but at the same time, you feel relaxed. So there's a lot going for this track, even though it's not really in your face. It's all the little individual pieces that really make this track stand out, in my opinion. And this is in an area where you're just digging deeper into Planet Zebes, and in the area called Brinstar. This red soil swampy area really does describe what the area is. You have a lot of vegetation and you have all this water, but there's also all these aliens and monsters. And that even though the area itself is beautiful, it's still a really dangerous place to be. And that piano, oh boy. I think that's the best part of this track. And if you haven't tried out Super Metroid, then I highly recommend that you should play it at some point. So I personally feel like you haven't lived unless you played Super Metroid. And I realized that I've been playing quite a bit of moody sounding tracks on this show. So let's bring things up a bit with this next track. And this is coming from Tekken. The track is Kyoto, and this was composed by Yoshie Arakawa and Yoshie Takayanagi. That track that you just listened to, that was Kyoto from the game Tekken, and that was composed by Yoshie Arakawa and Yoshie Takayanagi. And I think that's going to just about do it for the show this week. If you like what you've been listening to, have your friends check out the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, whatever podcasting service that you can think of. I'm more than likely going to be on there. You can email the show at vgmjourney@yahoo.com, and you could also check us out on Twitter at vgmjourney. We're going to play things out with one more track, and when I found out that Daytona USA came out in 1994, I had to play a track from that. And I thought a great way to end the show would be the track Sky High from Daytona USA, and that was composed by Takenobu Mitsuyoshi. Have a good week, everyone.
I wanna